What's up? We're back with a new review of Loki episode 3, just dropped today. Nick, what are your initial thoughts on this episode?
Um, I have to say I wasn't as always with I in this in particular this show, I didn't know where this was going, but I liked where it did go. And I think like at least thus far, since we're officially now at the halfway point for the show, or at least the season, I really have to say I think Loki is probably the best paced out of the three MCU shows thus far. They just have I mean, I have no idea how the back half is going to go, but I think at least this first half has done really well and just going through stuff, setting stuff up, and like just keeping things moving. And I think they've just utilized their time the best. And I think this episode in particular, um, like showed that like just set up this relationship with Sylvie, and now relatively all the pieces are in play for whatever this back half is going to be.
I'm really a big fan of Sylvie. I thought she was a really fun character the way she was introduced. I love how she just goes into the TVA and starts wrecking shop.
Mhm.
Um, and just the continuity from episode 2 and episode 3, I
Mhm.
thought was really fun. Her goal is to do something to do with the timekeepers, right?
Yeah.
Um, we don't know what, and we still don't know what after the episode, which I thought was kind of like that seems a little weird, but it kind of makes sense because it's a Loki variant, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I thought that was a really interesting aspect and just kind of exploring Loki's character through Sylvie, and Loki being the one who's more willing to open up. I thought that whole dynamic was really fun.
Yeah.
Them trying to kill each other was fun, and just this whole getting stuck in an apocalypse with no way out.
Yeah.
Um, I was like, that's really just a smart way of doing it, and I had a blast with it. Nick, let's get into this whole apocalypse part of the story.
Yeah.
What did you think of as far as like plot goes of them being set in an apocalypse world? Did you find that engaging?
I feel like I would find it was a weird back and forth because I'd find myself like feeling like, oh, I was running out of steam, but then something would happen that would bring me back in. And so it was like a push and pull with that occurring. I will say the last like 10 minutes or so when they're just like walking the train tracks all the way to till the end was really exciting. In particular, I thought the whole one shot sequence was really was pretty ambitious and pretty well done, just to have them like just trying to get out. And I again, I was expecting for sure for like Mobius to come at the end and pull them out, or like they're like them to get off. Like they're generally still stuck there, which I'm intrigued to see if like that gets worked out in the first like 10 minutes of episode 4, if it's like, another thing. But I do like that they kept that the concept of like, oh, she's hiding out in apocalypses and now they're in the worst one. I thought that was like a great way to give just, you don't have to explain it because they explained it already last episode, and just kept things like moving and kept them in a familiar, or at least a familiar concept that was introduced last week.
Right, right. And I love how they end the episode off of there's no escape. Well, I hate there not being a conclusion for an episode of television. I also love it because it leaves you waiting for next episode, but I'm like, God, I have to wait another week. Are you kidding me? Like, I love that. I love how they just really wrote themselves into a corner there, and I'm really curious as to how they figure it out.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. What do you? I'm trying to figure out what else to touch on in this episode because while there's a lot that happens character wise and just kind of the development of Loki expressing who he is, this whole thing about like never really having the right time for love,
Yeah.
his failed speech at trying to figure out what it is. I love that moment where he summons his pen and paper.
Yeah.
Um, I thought that was hilarious. What were some highlight moments for you?
I like the like I know the moment that made me like chuckle was when he gives the whole thing where it's like love is a dagger, and she's like, no, that's stupid. And he's like, damn it, I thought I had something there. I thought that was sold really well. I'm trying to think what else. I like the whole, it was a weird detour that I feel like could have been cut out, but the whole like they tried to get into that house but they were blasted out. just to see their two opposing like ways of doing things. That's just another like informing viewers about character through action. I thought that was um I thought that was I thought that was another cool moment. And again, just the one shot at the end, just to see them trying to like desperately fight through the chaos and to see them sort of like tag teaming. I thought that was pretty cool. Um I do I just hope that like the back half um we just get I we just do like get answers. They don't hold too many cards to the chest all the way to the end. I do think it was interesting that she did drop the whole like oh no, every single employee for the TVA is a variant. And he's like, what? Like, that's not what they told me. I think that'll be very interesting for Mobius. I think that'll be very interesting just to see like how this organization, I guess, continues going forward. Like, do they, if they're like, he takes them down, if they reform or something, I think that dropping that tidbit, I think would be pretty interesting going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the really interesting parts of that is that they set it up the last episode when Mobius talks about the jet skis. And you're like, oh, something is like not quite right here. And now it all makes sense. They're all variants. And it kind of gives you a better idea of like what else is the TVA lying about, right? Are the timekeepers even real? Like, is that a facade?
Yeah.
I'm really curious about all of that. I love how they fake Sylvie's backstory in the first scene. You
Mhm.
think it's a backstory, and then you realize, wait, that's the person from the TVA, and
Yeah.
she's going into that person's mind to try and get information. I love that kind of twist on it. We're like, oh, this is the typical open this episode with the backstory. It's like,
Right.
nope, it's not actually that.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a really good glimpse into the type of character Sylvie is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
but
oh, you go. Sorry.
yeah, I just want to say I would like to get a little bit more context on how Sylvie is a
Yeah.
variant.
I think like that just goes back to what I said. Like just as long as answers come at a reasonable rate, I think we'll be okay. I think just in setting up, uh, because assuming we're going along the line of she's just a time doppelganger, which I don't. There's definitely more to it than that. But like just going along that line and having them like 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 Tom Hiddleston being like, "Oh, you're not like a real Loki. A Loki wouldn't do that." And she's like, "The hell do you know?" And like that, just establishing the relationship. I think this episode um when did enough of that just as a character basis that I think as long as the context makes sense and they don't like hold it till the end, I think it'll be interesting to see, especially since it appears that she's like so dedicated to like she keeps referring to like the TVA as like fascists and like whatnot and like um, there's another moment where Hiddleston is like, I thought Hiddleston sold the line really well, where he's like, you can't stop them. They're like, he's like, you can't take them down. Like he's like really like going back to the Infinity Stone scene. Like he's really like scared of this organization, which I think is another interesting twist to see how she like sort of like pokes that, um, I guess that perspective for the future.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you have to imagine those timekeepers or whoever's pretending to be the timekeepers is extremely powerful if they're running the TVA.
Right.
I will say
Oh,
going forward,
okay. Oh, you finish. You finish.
yeah, I will say going forward, the one thing I'm curious about is how they get off the planet. Causing a variant in the timeline is a good way to get the TVA to come, though. I'll say that. Nick, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, just production design. I think there was a few scenes where the purple sky kind of like looked a bit wonky.
Yeah.
I kind of missed the TVA's like golden orange feel. I don't know. That was just something I wanted to say. Like the production design has been the most ambitious with this show. I would just say like just some like scenes where like they're like talking against like the purple sky's the background. It kind of like was a bit wonky, but that was just a minor thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely noticed that as well. It seemed like
Mhm.
you could tell the edge between where they had practical sets and
Yeah,
where the background came into play. I definitely
yeah,
could feel that at times in
mhm.
the episode. Um, I think that's just because the lighting choice that they chose, like that
Right,
purple is a hard color to match.
right.
But Nick, are there any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, other than like we're at the midpoint. I'm excited to see how the back half goes because I've been enjoying it so far, even though like we still don't know that much, but I have been consistently engaged so far. So here's to the back half, whatever that may entail for the show and for the MCU as a whole.
Yeah, I'm excited because I think I'm so fascinated by this mystery of what is the TVA,
Mhm.
and I really hope that we get some sort of answer to that in the next episode or two. I feel like there definitely are big answers on the horizon, and we need them. All right, but with that, that wraps up our review, spoiler review, I should say, of episode 3 of Loki. Let us know what you guys thought in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time.
Peace out.